Braziers has exorcisms in the past. You know, spirituality has been taken seriously.
Okay.
So yeah.
It's definitely a ghost.
Well, that's secular, isn't it?
We all wanna be good, good, good. Good neighbours.
We've got Sophie and Alex from Braziers Park. You'd like to come and join us on the sofa. So a bit more on Braziers. Braziers Park is a community and a charity for alternative education. We're sitting here in an area of outstanding natural beauty. It's the home of a school of integrative social research, which I'm sure they'll explain a little bit more about, where they're guided by the triad of soil, soul and society, a framework of ecological and spiritual consciousness from the beloved thinker Satish Kumar. So welcome Sophie Cullington, the Education Coordinator and resident here at Braziers, and Alex Rodgalvis, who is the Braziers Park Kitchen Garden Link. Welcome.
Tell us a bit about Braziers Park and its 75-year history, but not in really long way. Take us through day by day.
Yeah, so Braziers Park, we are celebrating our 76th anniversary this year, so 75 currently. We would consider ourselves to be the UK's oldest sort of secularist society. We have a sort of sensory and executive method of being together in which we try to break down sort of key critical issues into the way in which we sort of emote or feel about them, and then take action sort of separated from that, so we don't sort of continue down the same pathway that we may have done previously. You can think of Braziers sort of as a reaction to World War II and World War I. Sort of people following the same patterns of behaviour led to two sort of terrible eras of horror, and this sort of group of new intellectuals in the 1950s kind of sought to find a better way of being together, to make us sort of conscious of the processes of which we are a part.
I love that. I love what you said, it's secular. Has anyone ever come in and then it has got like a little bit culty? Like someone's just like, worship me. I was quite hoping to experience some of that like culty energy.
I would say we are secular but not devoid of faith.
Okay.
So there is a lot of the foundational thinking comes with an acceptance that faith and spirituality are part of the human experience, but not particularly tied to any sort of Western belief system. As you mentioned, we're an educational charity, and we say that nothing is beyond the purview of our sort of influence. And in the foundational documents, it is about adapting to the current way of being as well. So yeah, we would say that we don't have a particular sort of faith.
But you are open to cultists.
We are open to cultists.
Okay, good.
That's a good fit as well, because tomorrow we're going to have a little Unitarian service from our friend Ruth. So can you explain a little bit more about what's the soil, soul and society sort of framework?
Yeah, so it's mainly the framework which kind of is the foundation for all the events we run here, rather than the community itself. So yeah, as you mentioned, it was coined by Satish Kumar as this kind of framework of spiritual and ecological consciousness. So the soil aspect, it's all about ways we can connect more to the land, and so it's rooted in, back in the early days of Braziers, there was forest schools which took place here for lots of young people, just to learn bushcraft skills, forestry skills, to kind of separate the boundary between people and the land as like this kind of other entity, and to realise the system that we're all part, the soil, the wildlife, animals, people, we're all part of the same system, so to think less kind of in a divided way. And then the soul part, it's kind of the idea of trying to heal inwardly as a collective in order to then go out and impact like a social change outwardly, and this idea that if you bring a kind of fractured self into the collective, that ripples out, and actually doing that inner work acts as, it's not kind of a selfish act, it's services that outwards kind of impact as well. And then the final strand, society. I guess hosting events like this, for instance, is very important to us. I think not to become too insular or like a bubble or really separate from the outside world, and not to just kind of self-congratulate that, as a commune we're existing outside of the dominant social paradigm, but instead to continue holding ourselves accountable that we're also challenging that at the same time, and we're doing work to actively, change that and fight against the issues which we take yeah, we take seriously.
How easily could someone come and say visit you if they, you know, they don't think, oh, it's a big commune over there. How could they knock on the door? Are there like projects that they could get involved in?
Yeah, well, we have volunteers who come and stay here for like a few months at a time. We have day volunteers. I mean, you could just totally knock on the door, and we had a postman knock on the door and stay for lunch the other day. Like, you know, it's quite easy. We're quite welcoming.
That's good to know. I think people can be intimidated by, because you look like you're all having like a great old time, wearing robes, but actually, but you are welcoming. I like that. What's it like being part of this community? Really, truthfully.
Really, truthfully, it's challenging. It's difficult. It takes quite a lot of energy to live coherently with sort of 20 to 30 other people, particularly when we have, as you said, we have volunteers. We sort of have a rotating cast of 6 volunteers at any one time, and quite often actually they might not know it, but they dictate the pace of the community. They are the new force that comes in. And I'm not going to say we're world weary and sort of beaten down, but we know the flow, we know the pace, we know what's coming and going. And when a volunteer group comes in with the energy to change things and make things happen, that feeds into the residential group that live here.
So you could come here and dictate this entire commune. Good or bad, be kind, but do visit. Cool. What is it about deep listening, and why does it matter to this community? And how does one do it when one struggles because they have no overactive mind?
Yeah, I think deep listening is really integral to the work we do here in kind of 2 strands. I think also in relation to our work with the land, like, you know, permaculture is built upon, again, this kind of systems theory, which I was mentioning earlier, this idea, you know, humans and the land and wildlife, it's all part of a system, and you can't just listen to one individual strand. You have to kind of hear and understand the system as a whole, and yeah, I suppose kind of suspending your ego to listen to the land and hear what is necessary and recognise the kind of patterns which are emerging, you know, within that, rather than imposing your own idea of what we should do with the land, and kind of being present in nature, I suppose. But also within the community itself. I think within the sensory process, deep listening comes up a lot. I think we talk a little bit about ghost roles here, or at least Sam, shout out to Sam, our community coordinator, who has studied process work, and he talks about ghost roles and this idea that there are, within group discussions, you know, there's the ghost role of the deceased founder, right? There's the ghost role of, you know, the oppressor or the victim. There's all of these kind of the voices which are absent within the room. It's really important to kind of tune into that. And
how do you do that? By reading things that they left behind, or a seance? How literal do you go with that?
There was talk of a seance at Halloween. I'm not sure if that happened.
We've done a seance on this show. We almost set the studio on fire.
And Braziers has exorcisms in the past. You know, spirituality has been taken seriously within these walls. So yeah,
it's definitely a ghost.
That's secular, isn't it?
Right.
Okay, finally.
The final question that we try to ask everyone, what do you think it takes to be a good neighbour?
Probably 2 things, like sort of committed action, like just to say that you are going to do something and then actually do it, I think is an undervalued sort of skill. And also living here in community, sort of an appreciation or acceptance that you may not have caused the problem, but you are going to be responsible for the solution. Like, there is a problem that has emerged from the community, and you will have to take part in solving that, even if you don't feel you contributed to it, and that will take time and energy. And I think that is sort of, for me, living here, that is some of the good sort of neighbourliness.
Like climate change.
Like everything. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much, both.
Cheers, thank you guys.
So lovely to meet you. Thank you.